Number one goal of the Republicans is to give their billionaire buddies a tax break and have it be on your back.
Well, that was everyone's favorite TikToker, Chuck Schumer. Cenk, look, okay, Cenk, I know you love to make political predictions. So was Chuck Schumer the TikTok influencer anywhere on your bingo card?
No, even I couldn't predict that. But by the way, since I didn't predict that, I was right. Ain't nobody gonna get influenced by that. But my favorite part is the reading. So let's show you that.
Okay. So I hate to do this to y'all, but let's watch the whole video. It will not be fun, but let's see it.
Today began the long budget process, and it became very clear what the number one goal of the Republicans is: to give their billionaire buddies a tax break and have it be on your back. We Senate Democrats are going to expose them. We're going to lift up the curtain and show that everything else they do is to help hide the fact that their billionaire buddies are going to get a tax break under their proposal. Why does Donald Trump talk about the Gulf of America and putting hotels in Gaza and annexing Canada? He wants to hide the fact from you that their main goal, what they're really pursuing on the floor of the Senate, is giving their billionaire buddies a tax break. Is that crazy? Is that ridiculous? These people are very rich. The veteran who needs health care isn't very rich. The elderly person who's in a nursing home isn't very rich. These billionaire buddies are rich already. And yet all they want to do is give them another tax break. Shame, shame, shame. We're going to fight it tooth and nail.
Okay, it's a little awkward. He's reading off of a script that's pretty obvious. He's not doing a good job of it. The video, he has his AI generated captions, very good. That's a check off of his checklist. The best part is the tiny little handheld microphone that he has. It's not clipped to him. He's just holding it because it's much more trendy to do it that way. All the girlies are doing it over on TikTok. Yeah, and I'm trying so hard not to hate on him because I don't know what I'm doing half the time when it comes to like my production setup. But what's funny to me is like, who is getting on TikTok and looking for Chuck Schumer content? Who is this even for? I don't know.
Yeah, so everybody check out Yasmin on Rebel Headquarters on YouTube. She does it right. She's playing with you. Okay, so some super hot videos there. Anyways, so what's not hot is Chuck Schumer. So let me break down all the things here. But there's a secret thing in here that I want to tell you that I love. First of all, yes, the reading is hilarious. And then what? Billionaire buddies. We're against the billionaire buddies, and we're gonna fight tooth and nail. Okay, that's why I had to read it off the prompter because I'm gonna fight tooth and nail. Really animated. Okay, so it's super obvious that they poll tested and realized that the thing that works best is calling the other side billionaire buddies. That's why he said it like 4 times. Guys, look, I've been in these meetings where people talk about, oh, here's the latest poll, here's what the focus group found, etc. And so we need all of us on our side, meaning the politicians, saying these same words. So here, I'll predict it for you. Since we talked about predictions earlier, and you can write this one down in stone. Soon you will see other Democratic politicians using the phrase billionaire buddies. So, and then finally, like there's every part of it was gold, right? We're gonna lift up the curtain. No, Chuck, don't lift up any curtain. I don't want to see any curtains. Please, I'm begging you, okay? But every part of that was supposed to, we're gonna fight tooth and nail. Guaranteed in the focus groups, they said, we want somebody to fight for us, right? And then he's like, and then he's all worked up. They told him, Chuck, make sure you're animated. Normally when you go to press conferences, you're like, and people can barely hear you. People are making fun of it. Go out there and show them you got fight. Chuck, now here's some real advice, okay? If you really cared about winning, what you would do is say, okay, and I know I'm never gonna get you to put your ego aside. So I'm not asking you to step down as Democratic leader in the Senate, okay? That's way too big an ask for a guy like Chuck Schumer. Stay, keep your ego and status. You are the mighty Chuck Schumer, minority leader, right? Assign this role to a person who isn't 98 and can actually do it with a tiny bit of authenticity. Like Ruben Gallego, new senator from Arizona, not incompetent. He could actually do this. Give it to him. And you know what? You're in charge, Chuck. You're assigning it to Gallego, okay? But don't do this yourself. It's freaking embarrassing. I have one more thing I want to say that's about substance, but Mark, what'd you think?
I would just say that he was miscast. I mean, it is the right message, but he's miscast. And so it's the best Chuck Schumer you're going to get for TikTok. He's better than he is when he's, crouching over that, podium. Cenk just did an impression of him. So, but he's not good enough. And it's a good message, but I thought poorly delivered. He did his best job, you know what I mean? I hate to bust on the guy. I mean, someday we're all going to be hunched over with our glasses like that, but I just feel he's miscast in the role. So yeah, it was a miss.
God, I hope I'm not on TikTok when I'm that old,
Well, you'll make it cool, that's the thing. Yes.
Guys, our producers just found a treasure chest. I'm going to share that with you in 1 second. The substantive point, before, because I don't want you to miss it, the billionaire buddies, Obama, when he got into office, sent his vice president, Joe Biden, to negotiate with Mitch McConnell on the George Bush tax cuts. Those were gigantic. They were larger than the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy, but the problem is they couldn't make them permanent. They had to have a 10-year sunset provision in there. So they needed the Democrats to make the tax cuts for the rich permanent. And under Obama, Biden negotiated that with McConnell, gave away the farm on purpose because they're on the same team, and over 90% of the revenue from those tax cuts went to the wealthy. So the Democratic Party has been helping those billionaire buddies all along. So that's why this rings even more hollow. Now the treasure chest. Okay, you ready for this? Senator Gary Peters on Twitter. The budget the Republicans are putting on the floor tonight will cut essential services that millions of America's families rely on, and also they can pay for tax cuts for their billionaire buddies. Okay. All right, so that's okay. All right, we got one. Maybe it's coincidence. It could happen. It's kind of a catchy thing. All right, let's go to Lloyd Doggett, Democratic congressman. Trump is executing a wide-scale siege on healthcare. Research funding cuts disappearing public health data, and now a bill to cut healthcare for children, people with disabilities, and low-income seniors, all to improve health of his billionaire buddies' offshore bank accounts. Interesting. Wonder if this is poll tested. Martin Heinrich, another Democrat in Congress. As bad economics news piles up, Republicans are laser focused on tax cuts for their billionaire buddies. Interesting. Last one, but go on Twitter, you'll find endless ones. There's the Oversight Committee, there's Derek Evans, there's Representative Jason Crow. But let's go to the Oversight Committee because they kind of represented Robert Garcia here. Runs through must plan to demolish the federal government to enrich himself and his billionaire buddies.
Billionaire buddies.
Right. They're so fake. Oh my God, you just don't know how to do this thing. Jesus Christ, man. This is when you have 98-year-olds that were laden with donor money from billionaire buddies and coming in here and trying to do poll tested trash. There's not an authentic one among them. It's so discouraging. I mean, it was a fun little story about Chuck Schumer trying to be a TikToker, but it does show you really the cancer inside the Democratic Party and how hopeless these politicians are.
Yeah, you think they would have taken a hint after that kente cloth disaster, but they defended that one, so they refused to learn from any of their PR stunts that don't go over so well, at least not as well as they seem to think that they're gonna go over. I don't know who's in charge over there. I don't know why they don't have at least bring in someone younger, bring in some kind of Gen Z representative who can at least advise on where Gen Z is and how to reach them and what the best way to do that would be. Because I'm sure some 24-year-old can go in there and tell them exactly what they need to do, but they're not going to do that, right? Instead, they're still running Nancy Pelosi for her 21st term in office, as if that's going to go over well. She might win, she's already won 20 times, but that's not the point. The point is she's not popular in the country and she's not anybody that we need to hear more from anymore. And all these, I don't want to sound ageist, but it is going to sound ageist, but it's get out of there, move on, there should be a point in time where it's look, you've been doing this for long enough, you're out of touch, move on. But, the way the country works also is that, they are still getting voted back into office by their constituents. Why? I don't know.
Well,
That is where we are.
incumbency, it's the why is incumbency. Incumbency is an incredibly powerful thing. But the last thing I would say, because I really do kind of push back on the ageism, is get the right old guy in there to communicate that. Bernie Sanders is incredible. You don't need to give him talking points. You don't need to write out some kind of catchphrase that you've beta tested. You don't need to do it. Bernie Sanders shows you every time he opens his mouth how to do it, and he is old. Okay, so I bitch slap people on the age thing, man. You can get old people in, and they know what they're doing. I completely agree that we have the wrong old people speaking. Please don't misunderstand me, but I'm not ready to throw out every old person. Bernie Sanders is incredible the way he communicates better than any Republican, and he is astounding. And it's a shame that we can't find other Bernie Sanders to do the talking for the Democrats.
Right, I stand corrected, Mark. I stand corrected. Thank you.
I didn't mean, I'm sorry. It didn't sound like I was attacking you. I wasn't. But I just wanted to, because I think there is that movement like, oh, let's get rid of all these old people. And I understand why. They lack the vitality, and they are just kind of going through the motions. And so I definitely do see from a political standpoint how these incumbents with, cycle after cycle, they maintain and they do nothing. That's different. But in terms of an ability to communicate, I don't throw out old people necessarily. When I see Bernie Sanders, he renews my hope in people's ability to communicate regardless of age.
All right, I'm going to balance it out here. First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to Mark there for "We have the wrong old people." I like that line.
That's exactly what it is.
But guys,
these old people are no good.
Yeah, to Yaz's point, I think that you should have a rebuttable presumption to vote against incumbents in primaries. You should be super animated about primaries. You should assume that if they're in office, Democrat or Republican, they've already robbed you many, many, many times. And the reason why there's so many of them that are older is because, as I've explained many times, the donors already know they get a return on investment from them. They're safer. Chuck Schumer's always going to deliver for his billionaire buddies. So that's why he's still in there. So that should be your presumption, but it's rebuttable if you have someone like Bernie Sanders. You're like, well, I'm not gonna vote him out, he's awesome, right? But they gotta prove to you that they're awesome, otherwise throw their ass out, because the donors are the ones that picked all those people. So all your life, mainstream media has told you, oh, the incumbents, they're amazing. Oh, primary challengers, it's gonna, unity. This is gonna drive a division within the party. No, everybody vote for the incumbents, They're lying to you. They're representing the donor class. So don't vote for incumbents. Rebuttable presumption. If you got someone great who's an incumbent or older like Bernie Sanders, fantastic, Mark's 100% right. But otherwise, they gotta prove it to you. Vote them out if they don't. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.